Hi Stampers! This is my very first video of 2016. So before we get started, I just wanted to wish you all a very, very happy new year. My wish for you is that each and every day be renewed with lots of happiness and love, and of course, all things creative and crafty. So today I'm going to show you how I used Zig markers to watercolor the wood grain that you see here in the card in front of you. I'm not actually going to make the card on camera, so at the end of the video, I'll give you a quick rundown of the supplies that I used as well as the paper dimensions. I really love how watercoloring just a few different shades of brown gives us such a realistic look to the wood grain, as you can see here in this close-up. So now let's get started. Okay, let's get going with coloring the wood grain. So for the stamped part of this image, I am using my darkest brown marker. It's a dark brown number 062 by Zig Clean Color. And I'm using just the tip of the paintbrush here just to get the images really detailed. All right, here you see that I'm doing the border of the paper as well because this watercolor paper is thick and you see the white on the edges. So go over the trim all around your wood and cover that with one of the colors of brown just so you don't see white and it looks really woodsy and authentic. All right, as I mentioned before, these Zig markers are like paintbrushes, and if you're trying to get a lot of the image covered quickly, you can actually tilt the paintbrush or the marker to the side and you'll get a lot more coverage. But for this wood grain process, I do want to use just the tip of my marker as much as possible because you can get more detailed, more fine ink lines there. This wood grain is really detailed. You do not have to cover every single line that is stamped on your paper because I have it stamped with black StazOn ink and the black looks good as well. I just like the details of the dark brown on there as much as possible. But again, you do not have to cover the entire thing. Okay, so now I'm going in and filling in the wood with the lighter of my browns. This one is called Beige and it's number 072 in the Zig marker line. And I'm filling all of it in as best as I can. You don't have to cover it all up because we're going to go in and watercolor. We're going to put water all over this and that's going to spread the ink some. But that's filling in quite a bit of it with the light brown there. All right, I fast forwarded a little bit so you didn't have to watch me fill in the whole thing. So we finished up with the light brown, and now I'm going in with a medium shade of brown. It's actually just called brown, number 060. It's got a little bit of a red tint to it, which I like a lot. Just adds a little bit more natural of a look. And then I picked up my paper or my water spritzer there and just spritzed some water onto the image, and that just kind of is a cheat. It just it saved some time there so I didn't have to spread the water entirely with my aqua painter. And now I'm just going in there with the aqua painter, squeezing some more water on there and spreading the ink around some more. And then we're just going to set it to the side and let it dry and get the card assembled. Okay, while the wood is drying, I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick rundown of all the supplies that I used in making this card. First of all, for the cardstock, I used Stampin' Up! Soft Sky, which is this blue color here. Of course, this card is your standard size card, cut 5.5 to 8.5 inches and scored down the middle at 4.25. And the matting behind the bird was also Soft Sky, as well as the punched out flower here. The measurement for the Soft Sky matting was 2.5 by 2 3/4, and then this flower punch, I just sponged the edges with early espresso ink and put a brown brad in the middle. For the bird image, I just stamped that with early espresso ink from Stampin' Up! On very vanilla, measuring at 2.25 by 2.5. The watercolor cardstock that I used for the wood grain, this time I used Tim Holtz's Distress watercolor cardstock. This package came in let's see, 20 sheets of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which is very handy. And they also have two different textures on the front and the back, a smoother and then a rougher texture, which I really enjoyed. This made it easy because what I did is I just stamped the wood grain image right onto that piece of paper. Let's see. I used Stampin' Up! Hardwood background stamp. I stamped that with Stays-On ink right onto the paper, and then I cut it down to the size that it needed to be, which was, let's say, 4 by 5 1/4. So it fit on the front of the card. You also want to do 2 of these when you're painting them, because you're going to need 2 strips for this part of the card. And those I just cut right where the lines are in the wood, and then I cut them to 4 1/8. So they just went over the border of the other wood paint, just a little teeny bit. So for the zig markers, I use just 3 colors. I have this set of 24 colors, which is just a great starter set. It's just got enough colors to get you going in basically any project that you need. In the future, I may buy more, but 24 really works fine for me. For this project, I just used 3 colors of brown. I used, for the dark brown borders, I used number 062, and it's called dark brown. And then for the fill-in, I used beige, and that is number 072. And then I went in and used this color 060. It's just called brown, but it has a reddish tint to it, and it just gives a nice effect, a nice highlighting effect to the wood that I really liked. You don't have to use that many colors. You can use just a couple. You can add some grays in there, just whatever you want to make the wood grain effect that you like. Afterwards, you saw that I just went in and squirted the paper, saturated it pretty well with this water spritzer, and that was just a shortcut, so I didn't have to work so hard with my aqua painter. It already was fairly saturated with water, and then I just squeezed the aqua painter to get a little bit more water onto the wood and spread it around to fill it in. Let's see, what else did I use? I showed you I used the hardwood stamp. I also used Stampin' Up's Moon Lake stamp set with this cute little bird and the Thinking of You greeting. It'd make a nice set of cards using all 3 of these images. And one more thing I failed to mention to you is to get this little effect on the top of the fence. You could just use some scissors and snip out the little triangle shape, or you could use a triangle punch or your tree punch here, which is what I did. I just turned it over and went along along the top here and just cut out the little V shapes to create a more visually appealing fence line there, I guess you would say. So that's all of the supplies that I used for this project. A really easy project to do. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to mention to you. Well, actually, this is a reminder. I do need to tell you this. This is the image that we painted, and you can see here that with all the water that's on this paper, it's kind of warped here. All you need to do to get that flat is just take a hairdryer or your heat embossing gun and just blow dry it, and that'll flatten it out for you. And also, when you use a strong adhesive on the back to apply it to your card, that's going to flatten it out as well. And let me just show you real quick how I did the top of the fence, since this is dry enough for me to punch. I just did one little angle on each edge, half of it, and then I just went in, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch down. A little hard to punch through that paper. It's a little thicker and it's still a little damp. But there it is. There you have it. There's your wood for your fence. So I hope you enjoyed this project. I really enjoyed sharing what I made with you. And I just wanted to mention as well that at the end of this month, I am so excited. I am taking a Copic marker certification course over in Orlando, Florida. It's a one-day course. And it's just an introduction to Copic markers, which I have not used yet, but I'm so excited to start experimenting with them. They appear to be a really nice blending marker. And so I look forward to seeing what kind of new projects I can get into in the upcoming year. And when I get good enough to share something with you and get a little bit of an investment made in buying those markers, I'll be back here on my YouTube channel to share some new projects with you. So have a good day. Thanks again for joining me. And if you have any questions regarding this project, just feel free to comment in the comment section below. Thank you again, guys. Happy New Year.